All right, students, good morning. Thank you for attending today's lecture. It's a raining and a cold day. I appreciate your engagement. Okay, today we are going to discuss a new chapter, chapter 4, the Reserve Bank and the interest rate. So Reserve Bank is a very important topic in finance and economics. I think some of students, they learn Reserve Bank in their economics paper. However, I like to discuss the Reserve Bank in a finance way. All right. So first, for me, Reserve Bank is the bank of the banks. It's very important. Right? We learn financial institution in our chapter 2. Then financial institution, that means banks. So Reserve Bank is the bank of the bank. So why Reserve Bank is important? Because Reserve Bank can decide our money supply. And money supply will affect our interest rate, right? And interest rate will affect our economy. So Reserve Bank is very important because they have an impact on our economy, right? So for me, interest rate is a price of money. It's a key variable in finance, and interest rate will be affected by Reserve Bank. But you might ask me how and why. We will show you the detail in our following discussion, right? Chapter outline, we have 5 topics for this chapter. So today, I hope to cover the first 2 topics. The first topic is money supply and the tool of Reserve Bank monetary policy. So it's very important. So Reserve Bank, they have some tool for the money supply. All right, we will understand their tools. Right. So next slide, we discuss the money supply. So it's the most important power of the Reserve Bank, or we use the RB in our following discussion. So the RB can control the liquidity. That means the money supply in the financial system. ESF is a terminology in finance. Exchange settlement fund are the funds used to settle obligation among the financial institution and between the institution and the Reserve Bank. By controlling the ESF, the RB is able to control the money supply. So the conclusion is Reserve Bank can control the money supply. And in our class, we are going to show you how the Reserve Bank control the money supply. All right. So before we discuss the money supply, we discuss another terminology, money base. So money base is the value of a currency held by the private sector plus the value of deposit made by the bank with the Reserve Bank. That is a reserve. Right. So here I give you a very simple definition for money base. So for me, money base is a total of the money that the central bank create or print, right? So money base is equal to C. C is the currency held by individual. Second, R is the Reserve Bank by the bank, right? Later we will show you what's the reserve. So currency by individual, like the money in your wallet is a currency by individual, all right? Reserve, so the bank need to keep the reserve. So later we will show you what is the reserve. So currency plus reserve is the money base. It's the total amount of money created by the Reserve Bank, all right, or central bank. So let me give you my handwritten note to show you some key concepts. So money base is the amount of money created by Reserve Bank. There will be the currency held by the individual or by the public, and the reserve by the bank. Here we like to let you know the money base and the money supply money supply, they will go together. I mean, higher money base, higher money supply. However, we like to address this point. Money base is not equal to money supply. Although they will go together, but money base is not equal to money supply. So far we give you the definition of money supply. Money base. Money base is amount of the total money created by the Reserve Bank, held by the individual, by the public, or by the bank, right? But money base is not equal to money supply. We will discuss their relation later. So next slide, we show you the measure of money supply. So we have three measures of money supply, M1, M2, and M3. So M1 is a definition that focuses on money as a medium of exchange, that is a transaction, such as the currency held by the public and the current account at a depository institution. Right? So this is our M1. Okay. So M1 is currency, like the money in your wallet, and the current account for your deposit. Right? For example, I have a deposit account in my bank. So total, they are M1. And you can see M1 focus on the function of transaction. So you can use currency and the current account to do transaction. That means to buy the product or the service. All right. M2 is M1 plus e-post transaction. Okay.
I know it's interrupt and not talk to the cop at all. So another unit arrives here.
Please,
you get like arrested phoning the corporation.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Next, M3 is a broadest monetary aggregate. Broad money is M2 plus saving and term deposit. So M3 emphasizes the role that money plays a store of value. So M3, we have broader money supply. Now we have M2 plus saving account and the term deposit. Right? So you can see saving account and the term deposit, our focus will be the store of the value. So let me review some key concepts for you on this slide. So first key concept is the functions of currency, right, or functions of money. So currency should have two functions. One, transaction, right, the function of transaction. Second, the store of the value, right. So as the currency should have two functions. So here I have an additional question for you. So we have a new currency, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So whether Bitcoin is a currency is a debate in finance. Right? Some agree, others disagree. To think about the question, you need to consider the functions of the currency. Right? A currency should have two functions. One is transaction, the other is the store of the value. Right? So for me, Bitcoin, for the transaction function, yes, but not perfect. All right. And I think my big concern is the store of the value. Right? You can see the Bitcoin, the value is so unstable. Right? So some people do not agree Bitcoin is a currency. Next, we have three measurements of money supply, M1, M2, and M3. All right, so this is my way to remember that. So M1 is currency held by the public plus the deposit. All right, current deposit. Focus on transaction. Right, and I like to make a comparison with our money base. Money base is currency plus reserve by the bank. Right. money supply is currency plus deposit. So you can see they are different. Right? Later on, I will show you an example. You will understand the difference between them further. After M1, we have M2. In the M2, we consider e-post account. It's M1 plus e-post account. M3 is M2 plus saving account plus term deposit. Right? So you can see saving account and term deposit, they don't have transaction function, right? But they have the function of value store, right? The store of the value. Right? So you can see M3 is a bigger or the broader money supply measurement. All right. Okay. Next, we like to discuss the money supply versus money base. So you can see next slide. So next slide, we like to discuss the reserve ratio or reserve requirement. So reserve requirement refer to the amount of cash that bank must hold in reserve against deposit made by their customer. Right? And then we can define a reserve ratio or RR ratio is a percentage that the bank must keep in reserve and not allowed it to lend. So when the bank receive a deposit, they need to keep a specific amount of the deposit in the bank. This is the reserve, right? Then we can show you the relation between money supply and the money base. Money supply will be 1 over RR ratio times money base. So again, let me use my handwritten note to show you how we have the result and how I remember this result in a simple way. So I use an example. So let's consider our reserve ratio is 10%. So reserve ratio is 10%. That means when the bank receives the deposit, they need to keep 10% of the deposit in the bank. All right, 10% of deposit are not allowed to lend. The reason is simple, because saver will withdraw their money anytime. So the bank need to keep reserve in the bank. All right. So if you can understand 10% as the reserve ratio, now let's consider the example. So let's consider the $100 for individual A. So in our financial system, we have $100 like a money base for individual A. Then A deposit $100 in the bank 1. So 10% reserve ratio. That means reserve is $10, right? $10 are not allowed to lend. We only have $90 for lend. So $90 lend to individual B, $90, right? Again, B deposit $90 in bank 2. So deposit is $90. Again, reserve $9, 10%. And the lending is $81 to C. Right, you can see C $81 to bank 3 deposit, and the reserve 8.1 lending is 72.9. So you can repeat the process. And in the example now, we calculate the M1. So M1 is currency held by individual plus deposit in our financial system. In the example, we assume all the individual, they do not keep the money, all right? So currency is 0. Okay, you like A, $100 go to bank 1, B go to the bank 2. So currency held by individual 0. But our deposit, you can see in bank 1, deposit $100. Bank 2, $90. Bank 3, $81. Right. And this series is a spatial series. In particular, this is a geometric series. All right. 190, 81 is a geometric series. And their common ratio is 0.9. That means 190, 81. You can see the common ratio. And the initial term is 100. Then we have the result. This geometric theory, the result is 1 over 1 minus common ratio times initial or the first term. About the geometric series, please refer to your high school textbook. I remember in chapter 3, page number 120. I don't remember, but I do remember we learned geometric theory in the high school. All right, so I just use the result directly. All right, and you can see the result is 1 minus 0.9 is 1 over 0.1. 0.1 is our reserve ratio, right? So 100 is our money base. In our example, money base is $100. So you can see the money supply is 1,000, right? So although our money base is 100, our money supply 10 times of money base, 1,000, all right? So in the example, you can have this result. So money supply will be 1 over reserve ratio times money supply, okay? And the reserve ratio is decided by the reserve bank, all right? In the example, 10%, the number is decided by the reserve bank, okay? So if the reserve bank go down, you can see money supply will go up. Let's consider the example. If the reserve ratio is 5%, right, then you can see that 1 over 0.05 is 20, right? So money supply will be 20 times of the money base, right? So I hope this example can help you to remember the result in a simple way. So this is our final result. So money supply is 1 over RR, or the inverse of reserve ratio times money supply. So in our example, if the reserve ratio is 10%, right? The inverse of 10%, the inverse of 10% is 10, all right, it's 10. That means money supply will be 10 times of money base. If the reserve ratio is 5%, the inverse of 5% will be 20 times, right? So you can see how powerful for the reserve ratio, right? Okay. So this is the first tool. So reserve bank can affect the money supply by the reserve ratio. The lower reserve ratio, higher money supply, right? So this is the first tool by the Reserve Bank. Next slide, we show you, we discuss the open market operation. So open market operation include the purchase or sales of security by the Reserve Bank in the market to maintain, in the money market, to maintain the cash interest rate consistent with its stance on monetary policy. So I highlight the key concept. So open market operation means Reserve Bank can buy, that means purchase or sell the security in the market. Then they can change the money supply. So Reserve Bank normally they will buy or sell government bond, including long-term and short-term government bond or corporate bond, but not normal, right? Sorry, this is a typo, normal, not normal. So Reserve Bank will buy or sell government bond in the market. if you remember the policy, QE policy, quantitative easing policy in the United States, right? So U.S. Federal Reserve, that means their central bank, they buy the government bond in the market. And they not only buy the government bond, they also buy the corporate bond, right? So the idea like this, right? Let me show you the diagram, right? So open market operation. So the idea is very simple. So Reserve Bank, they can buy the security, right? Normally, it's a government bond. For example, short-term government bond in the market. When they buy the short-term government bond from the market, they provide money to the market. So you can see money supply will go up, right? On the other hand, if they sell the security, sell the government bond to the market, they collect the money back from the market. So you can see the money supply will go down. Right. So let's refer to our formula. Money supply is 1 over reserve ratio times money base. So open market operation is about money base. All right. If the Reserve Bank create more money, that means they create the money to buy security in the market. So they provide the money base to the market. So when money base go up, money supply will go up, right? So this is the open market operation. So remember, open market operation is about purchase or sales of security. Normally, it's government bond by the Reserve Bank. Okay, next slide, discount rate. Another tool for Reserve Bank is discount rate. So discount rate refers to the practice of some central bank to offer fund facilities to bank. So let me give an example. For example, the bank holding bond and the note, right, might sell this back to the central bank at the discount rate. The discount rate is a penalty rate of return. Again, let me use the image to show you the idea in a simple way. Right? So this is the discount rate. How the discount rate can work, right? So you can see the bank. Okay, for the bank, they need cash. They need money. For example, the saver, they withdraw the money from the bank. They don't have sufficient or enough money, right? Then they can sell their bond, right, to the Reserve Bank. And Reserve Bank provide the money to the bank. And bank can provide a loan to the market. Right? But when Reserve Bank provide the money to the bank, there's a discount rate. Right? This is a discount rate. For example, 10% discount rate. That means you sell the bank sell the bond to the Reserve Bank. For example, the bond is $1,000. 10% discount rate means the bank can only receive $900. All right. So you can see when the discount rate is going down, the money supply will go up. That means Reserve Bank provide more money to the market. All right. So here again, the formula, discount rate will affect that. And lower the discount rate to higher to increase the money base. Right? So this is the discussion on the discount rate. This is the third tool by the Reserve Bank. I mean, the discount rate is decided. The discount rate in our example here, 10%. The discount rate is decided by the Reserve Bank. All right. If they want to provide more money to the financial system, they can lower the discount rate. Right. Next slide. FS intervention. So FS stands for foreign exchange. Right? So the Reserve Bank trade in the foreign currency or foreign exchange market with the intention of directly influencing or supporting the value of currency. For example, New Zealand dollar. Right? Unfortunately, New Zealand dollar value now is low. I remember the first year I come to New Zealand, the New Zealand dollar value is around 0.75 US dollar about 10 years ago. But now New Zealand dollar value is around 0.6 US dollar. Right? So if the Reserve Bank think the value of our home currency is too low, they can do the FS intervention to support the value of the home currency. Right? This FS intervention have an impact on the money supply. All right. So here we give you example. If the Reserve Bank believes the home currency value is too high, then it can sell its home currency, that is, purchase foreign currency in the foreign currency market. Then it will increase the amount of home currency in circulation. This increase the money supply. So the idea, again, I use the image to remember this concept. So Reserve Bank can buy or sell foreign currency in the FX market. For example, when the Reserve Bank buy the foreign currency, when they buy the foreign currency, that means they provide money into the market. So money supply will go up. At the same time, the value of home currency will go down. All right. On the other hand, if the Reserve Bank sell the foreign currency in the market, when they sell foreign currency in the market, they receive the money back from the market. All right. You can see the money supply will go down and the value of home currency will go up. Right. So it's like the open market operation. Remember open market operation. Reserve Bank can buy or sell the government bond in the market. But here, FS intervention Reserve Bank is to buy or sell foreign currency. All right. The original purpose is to manage the value of home currency. But FS intervention also has an impact on the money supply. Right. Okay, we finished the first topic. This is a big topic. So again, let me review some key concepts for you. So in this topic, we discuss money supply and the tool of Reserve Bank monetary policy. So first, I know the money base. Money base is the amount of the money created or printed by the Reserve Bank. All right, it's a currency by individual plus reserved by the bank, C plus R. But money base is not equal to money supply. We have three measurements of money supply: M1, M2, and M3. I know M3 is higher than M2, higher than M1. Function of currency. The currency should have two functions. One, transaction. Second, store of value. And Reserve Bank monetary tool. Here, Reserve Bank have four tools. One, reserve ratio. Second, open market operation. Third, discount rate. Fourth, FS intervention. So I remember this formula. Money supply is 1 over RR, reserve ratio, times money base. So money base is money supply is much bigger than money base because of the reserve ratio. For example, reserve ratio is 10%. 1 over reserve ratio, or the inverse of reserve ratio is 10 times. So money supply will be 10 times of money best. If reserve ratio is 5%, the inverse of 5% will be 20. Right? Money supply will be 20 times of money best. Okay, this is our first topic. We spend more time to discuss this topic because this topic is important. Now we are going to discuss the cash rate. So cash rate is the most closely watched interest rate in the economy. For example, in our New Zealand, we have OCR. OCR stands for official cash rate. It's the most important one, or you can say it's the most important rate in the market. So we have many rates in the market, but cash rate is the most important one. All right, we will explain why it is the most important one. The cash rate is overnight interbank lending rate. When I see the overnight interbank, that means short term. Short term means low risk, right? Low risk. And the cash rate is of particular interest rate, or most important interest rate in the market, because it measures the return on the most liquid of all financial assets. So liquid means short term, right? No risk. Return on no risk financial asset, all right? And it's related to monetary policy, right? It's related to Reserve Bank monetary policy. So let me address some key concepts for you. So cash rate is very important, and cash rate is decided by the Reserve Bank. So in the market, we have many interest rates. We have different interest rates in the financial market. We have 1-year rate, 2-year rate. We have the rate for house loan, for car loan, for deposit, right? Or for credit card. But cash rate is very, very important. So first, I need to know the interest rate. The rate is a return to investor or saver. For saver, the rate is return, right? Interest rate is return. For company or for the borrower, the interest rate is a cost. So return to investor is a cost to company. That is interest rate. We have many interest rates in the market, right? And I know interest rate, they are required return. When I see the required return, I know it's about risk. So return in finance is RF. RF stands for risk-free rate. For example, cash rate. Cash rate, no risk because you're short-term. Interbank lending, all right? So it's a risk-free rate from plus risk premium. Premium is a terminology in finance. Premium is additional return. Additional return for taking the risk, all right? So we have many rates in the market. The rate or the required return is OCR rate, risk-free rate plus risk premium. So you might consider OCR rate like a minimum rate, like a floor. When OCR rate change, all the interest rate in the market will change as well. All right. So this is why cash rate is very important. Right. Of course, in the market we have different rates. Those different rates about the risk. Higher risk premium, right? Higher interest rate. But OCR rate is like a floor, right? Next slide. So importance of the cash rate. So financial market pay so much attention to the change in interest rate, right? And the change in interest rate reflect the change in monetary policy. And the monetary policy will affect our economy, right? Economy. So cash rate is a signal of how monetary policy is proceeding. So let me show you my note here. So later on, we will show you how the Reserve Bank affect our economy. So this is a channel. So Reserve Bank can change the money supply. Right? Money supply will cause the change in interest rate, and change in interest rate will link to the change in economy or the GDP. All right. So higher interest rate, higher money supply, lower interest rate, higher GDP. Right. So Reserve Bank can decide money supply and the interest rate, and interest rate will affect our GDP by consumption, investment, export, and import. All right. We will discuss the channel in our following discussion. So far, we just know Reserve Bank can affect our money supply and interest rate. And how interest rate affect our economy, we have a discussion later. Monetary policy. So Reserve Bank, they have a board to decide the monetary policy. The board will consider a wide range of economic data to come to its decision. So economic data, that means the Reserve Bank, they have several goals. In our next topic, they might consider several goals, like unemployment rate. I think now is a problem, right? Our unemployment rate now is going up now. Another concern is inflation, the price level, right? So they will consider this economic data to decide their monetary policy. All right. This is the list of the board members. I mean, they are very important people in our economy. Okay. Next slide. Managing risk, Reserve Bank impact on share and bond market. So when there is a change in the market interest rate, the value of security, like a bond, will change. Right? There is a similar but weaker inverse relation between interest rate and the share price. So when the market rate change, bond value or share value will change. Right? But share value its sensitivity to the interest rate is weaker. Right? So many participants in the financial market, they will monitor reserve policy because it's very important. All right. So again, let me use my handwritten note to show you my idea how to remember this concept. So I know the share price or bond price, the value of the share in the bond is a function of cash flow and the rate, the interest rate. Right? Change in interest rate will cause change in value. So in chapter 8, we have the chapter for bond variation. Chapter 9, share variation. Right? Change in rate trigger a change in value. This is the interest rate risk. All right. For bond's value is more sensitive to change in interest rate. The stock value or stock price is less sensitive to change in interest rate. Here is the reason. Bond, their payment, the bond payment include coupon. Coupon is a constant. When the bond is issued, coupon payment and the par value payment on the maturity date, they will not change. It's a constant. On the other hand, payment to stock investor, dividend payment is not a constant. So stock price will change not only due to the change in interest rate, but also dividend, right? So stock price will be less sensitive to the change in the interest rate. But anyway, interest rate is a key variable in the financial market. When we see the change in interest rate, stock price and the bond price will change as well. So this is why investor or the company, they constantly monitor or pay attention to the Reserve Bank monetary policy. Okay, we finished the discussion on the second topic. Then again, let me review some key concepts for you. So reserve cash rate. When I see the cash rate, I know it's a rate for short term, high liquidity, and low risk. And cash rate is linked with Reserve Bank monetary policy, right? How the cash rate affect the interest rate? I know interest rate is a return to investor, is a cost to company, and interest rate is a return. It's a risk-free rate, that is a cash rate plus risk premium. Premium is additional return for taking the risk. All right. So if the cash rate change, all the rate in the market will change as well. Right? And the investor, we pay attention to Reserve Bank's monetary policy because Reserve Bank's impact on share and the bond market. So idea like this: change in money supply trigger change in OCR, official cash rate, and the change in market rate. Therefore, change in bond price and change in share price. Right? Okay, we finished today's lecture. One more thing before we go, let me show you the QR code. Okay, student, now you are ready to record your attendance using the QR code, please.